Hey Foos, T here with the Nintendo Switch coming out in about a week, and it's been on everybody's minds, obviously. Just wanted to go over some things I was thinking about leading up to, the launch of it and whatnot. So like the title says, the Nintendo Switch basically destroyed the tenets and trends of, how hardware is released and how they market it. Nintendo has been doing, for a while, kind of pulling away from big media events like E3 and whatnot and kind of doing their own thing with the Nintendo Directs. They got a lot of flack for it. People are just adverse to change. They do not like change. And people believe you've got to continue doing the same thing you've been doing for, 25, 30 years, delivering your content to people in the same way. And to me, it's just so strange, especially for gamers. We live in a technology environment, technology world. You would think that they would be more susceptible to change. But a lot of times when it comes to gaming, for whatever reasons, people just don't want to change and don't think change is necessary. And, mostly I'm talking about E3 and how much emphasis and importance people still to this day put on E3. E3 itself has diminished and, they cut back. I think it was early 2000s where a lot of companies were kind of cutting back their E3 presence. And then for some reason, it just kind of got big again during the 7th gen. Started to blow up again, and you had these big crazy stage productions, embarrassing music performances, and and the embarrassing introductions to games and hardware and stuff too. So you would think, especially now with the advent of the internet, social media and stuff, that companies realize that there are other ways they can reach gamers and talk about their products and stuff. And Nintendo has felt that way for a while, and it's just so funny because they're always accused of being the company behind the times, but in many ways they are ahead of the curve. This is one of those ways with how they started doing the 3DS. What were they called? If I can't remember. I'll put the name of it on the screen. For me, it started with those little 3DS videos with Jesse Cantrell back in 2011 when the 3DS first launched. And that was a way to talk to, fans and whatnot and consumers about upcoming products. And then Nintendo Directs as well. Nintendo started pulling away from E3. And it's like, to me, it's a no-brainer to pull away or lower your output at E3, your presence. Because one, it's very expensive. But two, it's only, a couple of days out of the year. And to build yourself up and geek yourself up and for just a few days event is odd, especially now. There was a time where that made sense before, like I said, the internet blew up to where it was, before video quality on the internet was as good as it is now. It's still not great, but it's definitely very acceptable. Some of it's pretty good. Obviously streams take, hits and whatnot, so visually the quality goes down, the audio and stuff. But the quality of the internet now is a way to where people, companies can advertise their products on a daily basis if they want to. And obviously a lot of these companies now have YouTube channels and things like that. They have Twitches and whatnot, and it only makes sense to go after your audience, go after your consumers that way. It's much quicker and it's cheaper, and it's an everyday thing you can use to keep your audience and your consumers engaged. So, Nintendo has proven that you don't have to do the big event and it has to be this big rollout, and you could have this big rollout and then 7 months, sometimes a year later, finally release the product. After all everything about it has been put out there, and you just kind of sometimes you lose hype because of that, because there's so much information you get between the reveal of a product and the time it finally launches. And Nintendo has showed that you can put a reveal out there, and a very small one when it comes to the Switch. You're talking about 3 months before the product actually comes out, and you can put that out there. Actually, it's probably 5 months. What was it, October? Closer to 5 months. And you can, it was like a little 3-minute video. So you didn't get a whole lot of information there. You just got the main idea of what the Switch was. You can put that out there, do your presentation a couple months later, like they did on January 12th. And only a month and few weeks after that, actually launched the system. And there's still so much hype around. I'm surprised. Like, I totally thought once they released all the info, most of the hype would have died, but no. Everybody's talking about it. Even people who don't like it, people who don't want to talk about it are talking about it. You can't help but notice that. And to me, that just shows that Nintendo has their finger on the pulse. They always get accused of not, of being out of touch and not knowing and not realizing the way things are today, and being in their own bubble. But they launched this system expertly, if you ask me, and they don't get credit for the many things that they get right. They only get disdain for the things they get wrong, which is odd to me. I don't understand it, but it is what it is. Like I said, that's kind of the gist of this video. The way they presented the Switch, how quickly it all rolled out, and the secrecy. People were so upset about, they're so secretive. They should have showed it at E3. They only came to E3 one game that ruled that ruled the E3. That was on everybody's best of lists, and is obviously a Switch launch title, a huge launch title for the Switch, coming to the Wii U as well, obviously, but most eyes are on the Nintendo Switch right now, to say the least. And most people will be getting it there for sure. I think they've just shown as a testament Nintendo can do when they, really focus in and put their minds on something. And I think they did that expertly with the Switch. I think this changes the narrative of how you launch a console or video game software, anything like that, anything that's big. You don't have to do it the old way. Come up with new ways. We're in a new era, an era that changes, every couple of months now, especially with technologies. And let's embrace that. I mean, let's embrace change, because it, with change comes more being more effective in your marketing and your strategies and stuff. So I think they did that really well, and they should be commended for it. So what do you guys think about my thoughts here? You think Nintendo's shown the industry that you don't need E3 or some major event and a slow rollout of information of your product to get people excited, people hype? Obviously, the product itself has to be good. I mean, that's the main thing. You can't just roll out anything and just do it really quickly and expect people to be excited about it. Obviously, the Nintendo Switch, the product itself is awesome, and that is very important too. So what do you guys think? You think they show the industry something here, or do you think things should continue on, status quo the way it's always been? Let me know in the comments below. And as always, thank you for watching and listening, and I'll see you fools next time. Peace out. Oh yeah, one more thing. Play Nintendo, fools.